The first lecture in the course is Health and Safety Systems Key Elements. Why is it important to have an effective health and safety management system? There are sound economic reasons for reducing work-related accidents and ill health, as well as ethical and regulatory reasons. Economic reasons. Besides reducing costs, effective safety and health management promotes business efficiency. Thousands of work-related accidents resulting in more than 3 days of work are reported to the health and safety agencies each year. Work-related diseases and ill health are more difficult to measure due to their long latency period, but result in excess of 1 million days lost at work each year. These accident and ill health cases are due to failures and deficiencies in the occupational safety and health management systems in organizations. Legal reasons. The occupational health and safety legislation requires every company to ensure the safety, health and welfare of its employees by managing and conducting its work activities in such a way as to ensure their safety, health and welfare. This requires organizations to be proactive in managing workplace safety, health and welfare responsibilities and deal with them in a systematic way. Moral and ethical reasons. The proactive management of safety and health in the workplace helps organizations prevent accidents, injuries and ill health at work and to boost productivity and employee morale. Key elements of health and safety management system. The key elements of a successful safety and health management system and relationships between them are outlined in this picture. They also comply with the main elements of an occupational safety and health management system that are set out in most legislation systems in different countries. The way and extent to which the individual elements will be developed and applied will depend on factors such as size of the company, its management structure, the nature of its activities and the risks involved. Let's explore the picture. Policy and commitment. The policy will outline the safety and health policy and their commitment to preserving and developing this policy in order to keep their employees and company a safe working environment. Effective safety and health policies should provide a clear direction for the organization to follow. Responsibilities to people and the working environment must be met in a way that fulfills the spirit and requirements of the law. Cost-effective approaches to preserving and developing human and physical resources will reduce financial losses and liabilities. Planning. The organization should develop a plan to fulfill its safety and health policy as set out in company's safety statement. An effective management structure and arrangements should be put in place for delivering the policy. Safety and health objectives and targets should be set for all managers and employees. Implementation and operation. For effective implementation, the organization should develop the capabilities and support mechanisms necessary to achieve its safety and health policy, objectives and targets. All staff should be motivated and empowered to work safely and to protect their long-term health, not simply to avoid accidents. The arrangements should be, first, supported by effective staff involvement and participation through appropriate consultation, and second, sustained by effective communication and the promotion of competence which allows all employees and their representatives to make a responsible and informed contribution to the safety and health effort. There should be a systematic approach in place for health and safety policy implementation. The aim should be to minimize risks. Risk assessment techniques should be deployed to determine priorities and set objectives for eliminating hazards and reducing risks. Performance standards should be established and used for measuring achievement. Measuring performance. The organization should measure, monitor and evaluate its safety and health performance. Performance can be measured against agreed standards to reveal when and where improvement is needed. Active self-monitoring exposes how effectively the health and safety management system is functioning. Self-monitoring looks at both hardware, premises, plant and substances, and software, people, procedures and systems including individual behavior and performance. If controls fail, reactive monitoring should find out why they failed by investigating the accidents, ill health, or incidents that could have caused harm or loss. The objectives of active and reactive monitoring are to determine the immediate causes of substandard performance and to identify any underlying causes and implications for the design and operation of the safety and health management system. Longer-term objectives should also be monitored. Auditing and reviewing performance. The organization should review and improve its safety and health management system continuously. There should be a systematic review of performance based on data from monitoring and from independent audits of the entire safety and health management system. There should be a strong commitment to continuous improvement involving the development of policies, systems, and techniques of risk control. Performance should be assessed by internal key performance indicators and external benchmarking with the performance of competitors and best practices in the organization's employment sector. In this and next 4 lectures, we are going to explore the Health and Safety Management System model. The model outline follows the feedback loop represented in the previous lecture. In this lecture, we are going to see the first 3 steps of the model. Step 1. Initial Health and Safety Management System review. Before health and safety at the workplace can ensure, the company must first review the occupational health and safety policy they already have in place. In some cases, a company may not already have an occupational health and safety policy implemented and may skip this step. There are several factors to consider when reviewing the current system. These factors include health and safety legislation requirements, the provisions in the organization safety statement, guidance pertaining to safety and health in the organization, the existing safety and health guidance regulations, and best practices in the organization's employment industry. As a minimum, in order to comply with safety and health legislation, the organization must identify hazards and carry out risk assessment, develop and implement the safety statement requirements, have effective safety consultation and employee participation programs in place, and perform the selection of and support the role of the safety representatives. The initial review of the organization's safety and health management system should cover the issues listed above. Once the company has reviewed and exhausted all of the information in these factors, they should move on to creating a health and safety policy that they can start to implement. The second step is health and safety policy. Management should develop and incorporate into the safety statement a safety and health policy that confirms that safety and health is an integral part of the organization's business performance. They should ensure that this safety and health policy is appropriate to the hazards and risks of the organization's work activities and includes a commitment to protect its employees and others involved in its activities, has a commitment to participate in the compliance of safety and health legislation and codes of practice at a minimum, harbors a framework for measuring performance and promising continuous improvement by reviewing safety and health objectives, is documented, implemented, understood, and maintained throughout the organization, clearly states that all levels of management are responsible for monitoring and participating in safety practices, covers the topics of employee safety, health consultation, safety committee meetings, worker participation, and a commitment to provide resources in order to implement the policy. Effective safety and health management demands comprehensive safety and health policies and procedures that fulfill the legislation requirements, are effectively implemented, and are considered in all business operations and decision-making. Let's continue with this second step. Developing a workplace health and safety policy. By law, employers are obliged to plan their overall approach to managing health and safety and must allocate the necessary resources to develop and implement the plan. As a first step, employers must develop a safety and health policy which should be included in the safety statement. It must be specific to the organization and be in a written format. The content of the safety and health policy of an organization should be based on the hazards and risks identified in the organization and should reflect the systematic hazard identification and risk assessment that have been undertaken. In particular, a workplace health and safety policy should specify that suitable resources will be provided for critical safety and health issues, such as the design, provision and maintenance of a safe workplace for all employees, design, provision and maintenance of safe means of access to and exit from each part of the workplace, provision of systems of work that are planned, organized, performed, maintained or revised so as to be safe, particularly for safety-critical process operations or services, performance of ongoing hazard identification and risk assessments, and compliance with the general principles of prevention, provision and maintenance of personal protective equipment, preparation of preventive and contingency plans and the provision of first aid training, investigation and reporting of accidents and dangerous occurrences, provision and dissemination of safety and health information, instruction, training and supervision, review and keeping up to date the safety and health policy regarding to any changes in processes, procedures and conditions in the workplace, designating people responsible for keeping safety and health control systems in place, establishing monitoring arrangements, including safety and health inspections and audits in order to ensure ongoing compliance with legal duties, responsibilities and controls. This list is not exhaustive, and the critical safety and health issues that could be covered by the policy will depend on the risks in the organization. The third step is planning. Planning is essential for the implementation of health and safety policy and procedures. Adequate risk control can be achieved only through coordinated activities by all members of the company. An effective health and safety planning requires a system that controls risks and complies with safety and health legislation, reacts to changing circumstances, conditions and requirements, and promotes and sustains a positive health and safety culture and supports continuous improvement in safety and health performance. Initially, the organization should first access and identify relevant legislation, codes of practice and guidelines, and second, monitor legal and other requirements and communicate relevant information on these to employees. The next step is to formulate a plan to fulfill safety and health policy, objectives and targets. The plan should include the following: set clear performance standards and time frames for task completion, clearly outline work programs which are the plans for achieving each objective, and designate responsibilities. A sound safety and health plan will help the organization meet its legal obligations and improve its performance. It should be reviewed and revised regularly to reflect changes in legislation and organizational safety and health objectives. Safety and health objectives and targets. Realistic and achievable safety and health objectives should be set to meet the organization's safety and health policy requirements. Objectives should be aimed and focused at overall improvement in health and safety performance and should be supported by specific performance standards and targets. They should also be in compliance with relevant safety and health legislation. Long-term objectives should reflect the ultimate goal of minimizing risk, while the immediate objective may be to achieve a level of performance that complies with relevant legal requirements. Safety and health objectives should be periodically evaluated and updated if necessary. Measurable targets should be agreed with all managers responsible for achieving the plan and should be clearly communicated to those involved in its implementation. Performance standards. Performance standards are the basis of planning and measuring safety and health achievement. If the organization wants to be efficient and effective in controlling risks, it needs to coordinate its activities to make sure that everyone is on the same page about what they are expected to achieve. Both the direction of the organization as a whole and specific risks have to be controlled. The standard should set out clearly what people need to do to contribute to an environment free of injuries, ill health and loss. Identify the competences, expertise and training individuals need to fulfill their responsibilities. Form the basis for measuring individual, group and organizational performance. Good performance standards link responsibilities to specific outputs. They should specify who is responsible, name, position, expertise, etc., what they are responsible for. They should explain what is done and how. It may involve applying specific procedures or systems of work and use of specific documents or equipment because of legal duties. When should the work must be done? A clear time frame must be set. What is the expected result? Output standards can be used to specify how individuals will be held accountable for their safety and health responsibilities. We will continue with the next steps in the next lecture. Let's continue with the health and safety system model. In this and next two lectures, we are going to explore the fourth step of the model, which is implementation and operations. Structure and responsibilities. Responsibility for health and safety management system development, implementation and maintenance ultimately rests with the employer. This responsibility is normally delegated to executive directors, senior managers, line managers, supervisors, and employees. Each person's authority and duties should be clearly defined, documented, and communicated to them. The organizational and reporting structure for implementing these duties should be illustrated in an in-company organizational chart. Management responsibilities. Accidents, ill health, and incidents are seldom random events. They generally arise from failures of control and involve multiple intertwined contributory elements. The immediate cause may be a human or technical failure, but such events usually arise from organizational failings, which are the responsibility of management. The organization needs to understand how human factors affect safety and health performance. Senior executive body in the organization is primarily responsible for safety and health management, and these people should ensure that all their decisions reflect their safety and health intentions, as articulated in the safety statement. They should cover the appointment of someone at senior management level with executive responsibility, accountability, and authority for the development, implementation, periodic review, and evaluation of their safety and health management system. The safety and health implications of investment in new plant premises, processes, or products. For example, such changes could introduce new materials, new work practices, or new people. Only engaging contractors to do new or ongoing projects that reinforce the organization's safety and health policies. Recognizing their continuing responsibility for safety and health even when work is contracted out. Providing their customers with the necessary safety and health precautions when supplying them with articles, substances, or services. Individual responsibilities. Managers and supervisors have direct responsibility for the safety and health of employees and activities under their control. Individual employees have responsibilities for ensuring their own safety as defined by the safety and health legislation. These responsibilities should be clearly allocated and communicated to the various duty holders. Individual responsibilities should be stated in the organization's safety statement and individual job descriptions. Safety consultation, participation, and representation. Participation by employees supports risk control by encouraging their ownership of safety and health policies and procedures. It establishes an understanding that the organization and people working in it benefit from good safety and health performance. Pooling knowledge and experience through participation, commitment, and involvement means that safety and health really becomes everybody's business. The organization's executives and management must recognize its role in engaging the active participation of workers in improving safety and health by actively promoting and supporting worker participation in all aspects of the health and safety management system. Ensuring a safety consultation, employee participation, and representation program is put in place in compliance with the legislation, making workers aware of their safety and health responsibilities. Consultation and participation arrangements and the extent of their usage will depend on the size and complexity of the company. This may range from informal one-to-one discussions to a more formal safety committee. In organizations where arrangements for joint decision-making exist, these arrangements shall include the safety, consultation, and participation procedures in use in the organization. Safety representatives and members of the safety committee, where it exists, must be trained in common with all employees to enable them to make an informed contribution on safety and health issues. Effective safety committees should be involved in planning, measuring, and reviewing performance, as well as in their more traditional reactive role of considering the results of accident, ill health, and incident investigations and other concerns of the moment. Employees at all levels should be involved individually or in groups in a range of safety and health activities. They may, for example, help set performance standards, develop operating systems, procedures, and instructions for risk control, and help in monitoring and auditing. Supervisors and others with direct knowledge of how work is done can make important contributions to the preparation of procedures. Opportunities to promote involvement also arise through the use of safety audit checklists, suggestion schemes, or safety discussion workgroups, where safety and health problems can be identified and solved. These too can promote enthusiasm and draw on worker expertise. Now let's continue with the fourth step of the health and safety management system model. Training, awareness, and competence. If employees are to make the maximum contribution to safety and health, adequate activities must be put in place to ensure that they have the necessary skills to do their work safely. This means more than simply training. Experience of applying skills and knowledge is an important ingredient and needs to be gained under proper supervision. Managers should know the relevant legislation and be able to manage safety and health effectively. All employees need to be able to work in a safe and healthy manner. It is also necessary to check the abilities of contractors, where they work close to or in collaboration with direct employees. Good arrangements should include hiring and placement procedures that ensure all employees have the necessary physical and mental abilities to do their jobs or can acquire them through training and experience. Systems to identify safety and health training needs arising from recruitment, changes in staff, plant, substances, technology, processes, or working practices. Training documentation as appropriate to suit the size and activity of the organization and is kept up to date. Refresher training to maintain or enhance competences. Arrangements to ensure competent cover for staff absences, especially for staff with critical safety and health responsibilities. General health promotion and surveillance schemes that contribute to the maintenance of general health and fitness. Proper supervision helps to ensure the development and maintenance of competence and is particularly necessary for those new to a job or undergoing training. The organization should identify its training needs and implement a training program that takes legal requirements on safety and health training into account. Communication. Effective communication about safety and health relies on information coming into the organization, flowing within the organization, and going out from the organization. Information coming into the organization. Good sources of safety and health intelligence are as important in developing safety and health policy and performance as market information is for business development. Organizations should monitor legal developments to ensure continuing compliance with the legislation, technical developments relevant to risk control, and developments in health and safety management practice. Information flow within the organization. If the safety and health policy is to be understood and consistently implemented, certain key information should be communicated effectively and should cover the purpose of the policy and the vision, values and beliefs underlying it, the commitment of senior management to its implementation, plans, standards, procedures, and systems, ensuring workers' concerns, ideas, and inputs on safety and health matters are received, considered, and responded to, performance reports, lessons learned, and takeaways from accidents. There are three interrelated methods: visible behavior, written communications, and face-to-face discussions that can be used to provide an adequate flow of information in all directions throughout the company. These methods use both formal and informal means, but they should be consistent with each other, especially where key messages can be delivered by more than one method. Visible behavior. Managers, particularly directors and other senior managers, can communicate powerful signals about the importance and significance of safety and health objectives if they lead by example. Equally, they can undermine the development of a positive safety and health culture through negative behavior. Written and electronic communications. Among the most important written and electronic forms of communications are written health and safety policy statement, the organization's safety statement, the organization's internal intranet site, documented performance standards, etc. Safety and health documentation should be tailored to the organization's business needs, keeping in mind the requirements of specific legislation. In general, the degree of detail should be proportional to the level of complexity and the hazards and risks. The greater the risk, the more specific instructions will need to be. Organizations can use notices, posters, handbills, safety and health newsletters, email or internal intranet sites, or the internet to inform employees about particular issues or about progress in achieving objectives. Face-to-face discussions. Face-to-face discussions support other communication activities and enable employees to make a more personal contribution. Formal consultation meetings are options, but others include planned meetings or briefings, safety and health issues on the agenda at all regular management meetings, monthly or weekly workgroup process meetings, day-to-day communications from the management. Information flow from the organization. Organizations may need to provide safety and health information to others. This can include accident or ill health information or letters of compliance to the health and safety authorities, information about the safety of articles and substances supplied for use at work, emergency plans to the emergency services. The format for such information is sometimes specified in, for instance, an accident report form, a data sheet, or a prescribed layout. It may be appropriate to seek professional advice on how to present less formal information so that it can be understood by the targeted audience. Document control and system records. Employees must have access to correct and up-to-date safety and health documents or data. Procedures for controlling all documents required by the safety and health management system, whether in written or electronic format, have to ensure that safety and health documents are readily accessible, clearly written, and easily understood. They are identifiable, traceable, and their retention times are specified. Health and safety documents are periodically reviewed and revised as needed. The most recent versions of relevant documents are available at all locations where operations are carried out. Procedures for the identification, maintenance, and arrangement of safety and health records should be established and maintained. Records should be appropriate to the organization and its health and safety management system, and should include training records, safety critical records, and the results of audits and reviews. We will continue in the next lecture with the same step for implementation and operations. In this lecture, we are going to explore the last elements of the fourth step of the health and safety management system model. Let's continue with operational controls. Workplace precautions. The ultimate goal of any health and safety management system is to prevent injury and ill health in the workplace. Adequate workplace precautions must be provided and maintained to prevent harm to people at the point of risk. Workplace precautions are needed at each stage of business activity. They may include provisions such as machine guards, local exhaust ventilation, safety instructions, and systems of work. Risk control is the basis for ensuring that proper workplace precautions are provided and maintained. At the input stage, the aim is to minimize hazards and risks entering the organization. At the process stage, the focus is on containing risks associated with the process. At the output stage, risk control should prevent the export of risks off-site or in the products and services generated by the business. The nature and relative importance of risk control will vary according to the nature and hazard profile of the business and workplace precautions. Organizations need risk controls appropriate to the hazards arising from their activities and sufficient to cover all hazards. The design, reliability, and complexity of each risk control method should be proportioned to the hazards and risks involved. Developing workplace precautions. The control of risks is necessary to comply with the requirements of the legislation. There are three essential stages in establishing workplace precautions. Hazard identification, identifying hazards that could cause harm. Risk assessment, assessing any risk that may arise from identified hazards. And risk control, deciding on suitable measures to eliminate or control risk. In practice, many decisions at these three stages are simple and straightforward and are taken together. Wherever the identification stage reveals a well-known hazard with a known risk, the methods of control and consequent maintenance may be well tried and tested. For example, stairs present an established risk of slipping, tripping, and falling. They require traditional methods of control, such as good construction, the use of handrails, and the provision of non-slip surfaces, along with the need to keep stairs free of obstructions. In other more complex situations, decisions are necessary at each stage. More detailed risk assessment process is outlined in the Lecture 7 of the course. Controlling and monitoring risks. Occupational health and safety legislation requires employers to ensure the health as well as the safety of their employees. The principles for controlling health through risk assessment are the same as those for safety. However, the nature of health risks can make the link between work activities and employee ill health less obvious than in the case of injury from an accident. Unlike safety risks, which can lead to immediate injury, the results of daily exposure to health risks may not become apparent for months, years, or decades. Health may be irreversibly damaged before the risk is detected. It is essential to develop a preventive strategy to identify and control risks before anyone is exposed to them. Failure to do so can lead to workers' disability, financial losses for the organization through absence, lost production, compensation, and increased insurance premiums. Risks to health from work activities may include skin contact with irritant substances leading to dermatitis, etc., inhalation of respiratory sensitizers, badly designed workstations requiring awkward body postures or repetitive movements, too high noise levels, excessive vibration, exposure to radiation, infections caused by inhaling or being contaminated by microbiological organisms, and stress causing mental or physical illness. Some illnesses or conditions such as asthma and back pain have both occupational and non-occupational causes, and it may be difficult to establish a definite link with a work activity or exposure to particular substances. However, if there is information that shows the illness or condition is prevalent among the occupational group to which the sufferer belongs or among workers exposed to similar substances, it is likely that work is at least a contributory factor. To assess health risks and ensure that control measures are working properly, employers may need to measure the concentration of substances in air to make sure that exposures remain within relevant limits. Sometimes health surveillance of workers at risk of exposure will be needed, which will enable data to be collected for the evaluation of controls and for early detection of adverse changes to health. Health surveillance procedures include biological monitoring for bodily uptake of substances, examination for symptoms, and medical surveillance, which may entail clinical examinations and psychological measurements. Management and control of contractors. The organization should establish and maintain procedures for controlling safety and health aspects of outsourced work. These should include pre-planning for medium or long-term contracts, ensuring they have prepared an up-to-date safety statement for the project to be undertaken, defining responsibility for and setting up communication links between appropriate levels of the organization and the contractor before the start and throughout the contract, providing site safety rules, providing safety and health training of contractor personnel before work begins, monitoring safety and health aspects of contractor activities on site, establishing procedures for communication of accidents and incidents involving the contractor's personnel. Emergency preparedness and response. The organization should develop and maintain procedures to respond to accidents and emergency situations, and to prevent and minimize the safety and health impacts associated with them. Emergency planning should cover development of emergency and contingency plans, testing and rehearsing of these plans and related equipment, including firefighting equipment and fire alarms, training personnel on what to do in the event of an emergency, particularly those people who have to carry out duties, familiarizing the emergency services with the facilities of the organization so that they know what to expect in the event of an emergency. The contingency plan itself should include details on the installation, availability and testing of suitable warning and alarm systems, details of emergency scenarios that might occur and the ways for dealing with these scenarios, the emergency procedures in the organization, including the responsibilities of key personnel, procedures to firefighting and evacuation of all personnel on site, and first aid requirements, details of local emergency services, internal and external communications plans, details on the availability of emergency rescue equipment and its maintenance log. The organization should periodically test, review and revise its emergency preparedness and response procedures where necessary, especially after the occurrence of accidents or emergency situations. In the next lecture, we are going to explore the last step 5, measuring performance of the health and safety management system model. Let's continue with the last 2 steps in the health and safety management system model. Step 5, measuring performance. Monitoring and measurement. The organization's executive board and management team needs to ensure that they are kept informed of and alerted to relevant safety and health risk management issues. They also should ensure that their safety and health responsibilities are properly discharged by reviewing the safety and health performance data annually, if not more often, evaluating that safety statements reflect the current priorities, ensuring safety and health management systems provide effective monitoring and reporting, appointing someone in senior management to implement health and safety management regulations, being kept informed about any significant safety and health failures and of the outcome of the investigations into their causes, ensuring that safety and health risk management systems remain in place and effective. Thus, procedures to monitor, measure and record safety and health performance on a regular basis should be developed, implemented and periodically reviewed. The organization should measure what it is doing to implement its safety and health policy to assess how effectively it is controlling risks and how well it is developing a positive safety and health culture. A low accident rate, even over a period of years, is no guarantee that risks are being effectively controlled and that injuries, ill health, or loss will not arise into the future. This is particularly true in an organization where there is a low probability of accidents, but where major hazards are present. Like planning, monitoring safety and health performance against predetermined plans and standards should be a line management responsibility. Monitoring also reinforces management's commitment to health and safety objectives in general and helps to develop a positive health and safety culture by rewarding positive work done to control risk. There are two types of monitoring that are necessary: active systems that monitor the design, development, installation, and operation of management arrangements, safety systems, and workplace precautions, and reactive systems that monitor accidents, ill health incidents, and other evidence of deficient health and safety performance. Let's have a look at them. Active monitoring. Every organization should collect information to investigate the causes of substandard performance or conditions. Documented procedures for carrying out these activities on a regular basis for key operations should be developed and maintained. Some techniques that can be used for active measurement of the health and safety management systems are systematic regular inspections of workplace processes and services, regular reviews of the organization's risk assessments, plant and equipment inspections, environmental sampling for dust, chemical fumes, noise, etc., analysis of health and safety management system records. Active monitoring should be proportional to the hazard profile of the organization and should concentrate on areas likely to produce the greatest benefit and lead to the greatest control of risk. Reactive monitoring. A system of internal reporting of all accidents and incidents of non-compliance with the health and safety management system should be set up so that the experience gained may be used to improve the management system. The organization should foster an open and positive approach to reporting and follow-up, and should also put in place a system of ensuring that reporting requirements are met. The organization should develop and implement procedures for investigating accidents and incidents to identify their causes, including possible deficiencies in the health and safety management system. Those responsible for investigating accidents and incidents should be identified, and the investigation should include plans for corrective action. The organization should implement and record any changes in documented procedures resulting from corrective and preventative actions. The last step of this health and safety management system model is auditing and reviewing performance. Monitoring provides the information to let the organization review activities and decide how to improve performance. Auditing and performance review are the final steps in the health and safety management control cycle. They constitute the feedback loop that enables an organization to reinforce, maintain, and develop its ability to reduce risks to the fullest extent possible and to ensure the continued effectiveness of its health and safety management system. Audits performed by the organization's own staff or external bodies complement monitoring activities by looking to see if the health and safety management systems are actually achieving the right results. Results from measuring performance should be combined with information from audits to improve the organization's overall approach to safety and health management. Health and safety management system audits. The organization should develop, implement, and maintain a program and procedures for periodic health and safety management system audits to be carried out to enable a critical appraisal of all the elements of the safety and health management system to be made. Auditing is the structured process of collecting independent information on the efficiency, effectiveness, and reliability of the total health and safety management system and making plans for corrective action. These audits should be performed in addition to regular monitoring, inspection, and surveillance of the health and safety management system. Audit protocols. Audit protocols and procedures should be established, documented, and maintained, and should include distribution of resources to the process, personnel requirements, methods for conducting and documenting the audit such as checklists, interviews, questionnaires, etc., procedures for reporting these findings to the management, and a system for auditing and tracking the implementation of audit recommendations. Audit records. The organization should establish and maintain audit records consistent with the health and safety management system records. Their retention times should be established and should comply with legal requirements. Reviewing performance. Organizations need to have feedback to assess whether their health and safety management system is working effectively. The main sources of information come from measuring activities and from audits of risk control systems and workplace precautions. Other internal and external influences include new legislation or changes in current good practices. Any of these can result in redesign or amendment of any parts of the health and safety management system or a change in overall direction or objectives. Suitable performance standards should be developed to identify the responsibilities, timing, and systems involved. Feeding information on success and failure back into the system is an essential part in motivating employees to maintain and improve performance. Successful organizations highlight positive reinforcement and focus on encouraging progress on the indicators that demonstrate improvements in risk control. The aims of the review process reflect the objectives of the planning process. Reviewing should be a continuous process undertaken at a different level in the organization. It includes remedy of failures to implement workplace precautions, correcting unacceptable performance, assessing plans at individual, departmental, site, group, and organizational levels, assessing the effectiveness of the health and safety management system, and responding to the results of audits. The organization should decide on the frequency of reviews at each level and plan reviewing activities to suit the measuring and auditing activities. In all reviewing activity, the result should be specific corrective actions that establish who is responsible for implementation with deadlines set for completion. These actions form the basis of effective follow-up, which should be closely monitored. The speed and nature of response to any situation should be determined by the degree of risk involved and the availability of resources. Reviewing requires the exercise of good judgment, and people responsible for reviewing may need specific training to achieve competence in this task. Key performance indicators for reviewing overall performance should include assessment of the degree of compliance with the health and safety system itself and legal requirements, identification of areas where the health and safety system is absent or ineffective, assessment of the objectives and plans achievement, accident, ill health, and incident rate accompanied by analysis of the immediate and underlying causes, trends, and common features. Performance indicators should be consistent with the development of a positive safety and health culture. They should emphasize achievement and success rather than measuring failure by looking only at accident data. Action for improvement. Arrangements should be put in place to ensure that the lessons learned from the auditing and reviewing process are put in place. This will mean the identification of the root causes of non-conformity and checking the effectiveness of and documenting corrective actions, including changes to the management system. Arrangements should be made to ensure the continuous improvement of the health and safety management system and getting buy-in for the improvements from the workers, members of the safety committee, and the safety representatives. The safety and health processes and performance should be compared by the organization with others in order to improve overall safety and health performance. In this next lecture, we are going to see how to measure health and safety performance. Let's first start with the need of measuring performance. Why we need it? The primary purpose of measuring health and safety performance is to provide information on the progress and current status of the strategies, processes, and activities used by an organization to control risks to health and safety. Measurement information sustains the operation and development of the health and safety management system and so the control of risk, by providing information on how the system operates in practice, identifying areas where corrective actions are required, providing a basis for continuous improvement, and providing feedback and motivation. Effective performance measurement provides information on both the level of performance and why the performance level is as it is. If the information derived from measurement cannot be used as a way to understand the basis of performance, then it is of little use. The measurement information helps in deciding where you are compared to where you want to be, what progress is necessary and reasonable, how that progress might be achieved against particular constraints, the way progress might be achieved, and priorities and effective use of resources. Information from health and safety performance measurement is needed by the people in the organization who have particular responsibilities within the health and safety management system. These will include executives, senior managers, line managers, supervisors, health and safety professionals, and employees' safety representatives. They each need information appropriate to their position and responsibilities within the health and safety management system. There needs to be overall consistency in approach so that individual measuring activities are aligned within the overall performance measurement framework. In effect, this results in a hierarchical set of linked measures which reflect the organization's structure. Because performance measures should be derived principally to meet an internal need, there will be a limit to the number which can be used meaningfully from organization to organization rather than within the context of a particular organization. Although the primary focus for performance measurement is to meet the internal needs of the organization, there is an increasing need to demonstrate to external stakeholders that arrangements to control health and safety risks are in place, operating correctly and effectively. The challenge for organizations is to communicate their performance in ways which are meaningful to their various stakeholders. What to measure? First, measuring hazards. The range of activities undertaken by an organization will create hazards, which will vary in nature and significance. The range, nature, distribution, and significance of the hazards will determine the risks which need to be controlled. Ideally, the hazard should be eliminated altogether, either by the introduction of integrally safer processes or by no longer carrying out a particular activity, but this is not always practical. If the hazard significance or hazard burden is reduced, and if other variables remain constant, including consistent operation of the health and safety management system, this will result in lower overall risk and a subsequent reduction in injuries and health. Of course, the hazard burden may increase as the organization takes on new activities or makes changes to existing ones. For example, increasing the throughput in a chemical plant might involve larger inventories and larger pipe diameters, resulting in potentially larger releases. This information provides an important input into planning and reviewing process to ensure that proportionate effort, prioritization, and emphasis are given to the control of risks. Measuring the health and safety management system. The health and safety management system is the process which turns uncontrolled hazards to control risks. Measuring policy. The measuring process should establish that a written health and safety policy statement exists, is up to date, meets legal requirements, and is implemented effectively. The information needed to demonstrate that the policy is being implemented effectively will be collected through the overall process of measuring health and safety performance and from the auditing process. Organizing. The measurement process should gauge the existence, adequacy, and implementation of arrangements to develop and maintain management control of health and safety in the organization, promote effective cooperation and participation of individuals, safety representatives, and relevant groups so that health and safety is a joint effort, ensure the effective communication of necessary information throughout the company, and ensure the competence of the organization's employees. Planning and implementation. The measurement process should gauge the existence, adequacy, and implementation of the planning system. The planning system should be able to deliver plans with objectives for developing, maintaining, and improving the health and safety management system. Design, develop, and implement proper management arrangements, risk control systems, and workplace precautions proportionate to the needs, hazards, and risks of the organizations. Operate, maintain, and improve the system to suit changing needs and process hazards and risks. Over a period of time, the information from the various measuring activities and from other sources will demonstrate how well the planning system delivers suitable management arrangements and risk control systems. These should be effective, reliable, and efficient. Measuring performance. The measuring process itself is an essential element of the health and safety management system, so its operation will also need to be monitored. Audit and review. Audit and review form the final steps in the health and safety management control loop, so their existence, adequacy, and implementation need to be included within the measuring process. Measuring failure, reactive monitoring. So far we have dealt with measuring activities designed to prevent the occurrence of injuries and work-related ill health, active monitoring. Failures in risk control also need to be measured, reactive monitoring, to provide operations for organizations, to check performance, learn from failures, and improve the health and safety management system. Reactive monitoring arrangements include systems to identify and report injuries and work-related ill health, losses such as damage to property, incidents including those with potential to cause injury, ill health, or loss, hazards and mistakes, weaknesses or omissions in performance standards and systems. Measuring the health and safety culture. The health and safety culture of an organization is an important factor in ensuring the effectiveness of risk control. The health and safety management system is an important influence on the safety culture, which in turn impacts on the effectiveness of the health and safety management system. Measuring aspects of the safety culture, therefore, forms part of the overall process of measuring health and safety performance. Many of the activities which support the development of a positive safety culture need to be measured. The term health and safety climate is used to describe the tangible outputs of an organization's health and safety culture as perceived by individuals or work groups at a point in time. Behaviors which support and promote a positive health and safety culture and an effective health and safety management system need to be included within the measurement process. We will continue with measuring health and safety performance in the next lecture. Now let's continue with the second part of measuring health and safety performance. When to measure performance? Measuring health and safety performance is an ongoing activity, but like any other activity, measurement should be both efficient and effective, so the frequency with which it takes place needs to be planned appropriately. You should consider the following factors. Suitable intervals to ensure that specific planned milestones are achieved. Monitoring the progress with plans should be aligned with the particular timescales for achievement. The potential for change from one state to another over time. For example, the design of a particular risk control system does not change from day to day, so that the checks on the design might be appropriate at the initial design stage. Whenever changes are made which could impact on the operation of the systems. When information is obtained which indicates that the system has failed in some way, or when data from the monitoring of the operation of the system indicates the design is flawed. The relative importance of the activity or particular precaution relative to the overall control of risk. Some precautions needed to control a particular risk may need to be monitored on an almost continuous basis and require effective instrumentation. Systems to control risks associated with high hazards will need to be monitored at more frequent intervals than those for low hazards. Where intervals for monitoring are set by legislation. Some legislation requires monitoring to take place at specific intervals, for example, inspection of lifting equipment. Where there is evidence that there is non-compliance. Where monitoring has discovered evidence of non-compliance, then once corrective action has been taken, it may be appropriate to introduce more frequent monitoring to check that the remedial action has been successful. Where there is evidence of compliance, where monitoring has provided evidence that there is regular compliance with a particular requirement, it may be appropriate to consider reducing the frequency of those monitoring. The relative frequency and time at which a particular activity takes place. Some work activities only occur at particular times of the day or night or periods of the year. It is important that the measurement process covers these activities effectively. Who should measure performance? Health and safety performance needs to be measured at each management level in an organization, starting with the most senior management. Senior managers must be sure that appropriate arrangements to control health and safety risks are in place, complied with, and effective. Organizations need to decide how to designate responsibilities for both active and reactive monitoring of performance at different levels in the organizational structure. They should also decide what level of detail is appropriate. The decisions will reflect the organization structure. Managers should be given responsibility for monitoring the achievement of plans and objectives in compliance with standards for which they and their associates are responsible. Managers and supervisors responsible for direct implementation of standards should monitor compliance in detail and be competent to do so. Above this immediate level of control, monitoring needs to be more selective but provide assurance that adequate first-line monitoring is taking place. There needs to be performance standards, who do what, when, to what effect, for managers to indicate how they will monitor. How to measure performance? The foundation of effective performance measurement is an effective planning system which produces specifications and performance standards for the management arrangements and risk control systems. These provide the pillars for the measurement process. The measurement process can gather information through direct observation of conditions and people behaviors, or by talking to people to obtain facts and their experiences, or examining written reports, documents, and records. These information sources can be used independently or in combination. Direct observation includes inspection activities and the monitoring of the work environment and people's health and safety related behavior. Each risk control system should have a built-in monitoring element if it has been designed correctly to define the frequency of monitoring. Rather than monitoring particular risk control systems and associated workplace precautions in isolation, it may be more efficient to combine the individual monitoring activities where it makes sense to do so. This may be achieved by developing a checklist or inspection from which covers the key issues to be monitored in a particular department or area of the organization within a specific time period. It might be useful to structure this checklist using the 4 Ps. Premises, including access, exit, housekeeping, working environment. Plant and substances. Procedures. People. In order to get maximum value from inspection checklists, they should be designed so that they require objective rather than subjective judgment of conditions. Organizations need to protect against the danger of having a performance measurement process where there is measurement for measurement's sake. Just because something is measurable, it does not mean that it has to be measured. Like any activity, measurement has associated costs and so needs to be undertaken efficiently and to the best effort. Improving your performance measurement arrangements. In seeking to improve your organization's approach to measuring health and safety performance, a useful starting point is to review what measuring activity is currently taking place. You should include consideration of range, nature, and deployment, gaps in the coverage, balance and emphasis, design basis, frequency, responsibility for collecting, analyzing, and reporting measurement information, corrective action plans, and responsibilities. This might best be done using a team approach involving managers, supervisors, employees, and safety representatives. The first goal should be to develop a measurement system which provides information to enable you to comply with relevant legal requirements as a minimum.